You're listening to The Jacob Valk Show. He's breaking down the latest and greatest in sports as only he can. Follow him on Twitter at RealJacobValk. Here he is, Jacob Valk.
Hello, sports fans! Welcome to another New York Islanders episode of the Jacob Valk Show. I am Jacob Valk, and I'm not going to talk about the Andy Greene trade. I did that on the regular Jacob Valk Show. Instead, I want to talk about the jersey retirement of John Tonelli and Butch Goring and how upset I am at one of them. Take a guess as to which one it is. Seriously. Shout out your guess right now. If you guess John Tonelli, you're wrong. Tonelli absolutely should have his number retired by the Islanders. It's a damn shame that it took this long. It's a good move by Lamoriello to have mended the relationship between the Islanders and Tonelli. They did not get along for a long period of time. If guys like Bossy, Trottier, Potvin, and Smith were the heart and soul of the Islanders, then a guy like Tonelli was the liver or the pancreas of the Islanders. I think that's the best way I can put it. I think that's the only time he's ever been described that way, but it's true. He was an integral role player for the Islanders. He wasn't a superstar, but he played his role well, and he has 4 Stanley Cups to show for it. I also like that the Islanders are grandfathering Anders Lee into the number 27. That's really classy by Tonelli to not push Lee to change his number. And it means I don't have to get another Lee shirt. That's not the issue. The issue is Butch Goring. Now, let me say that Butch Goring should be honored by the Islanders. The guy has served in almost every role possible with the Islanders. He was a player. He was a coach. He was a rinkside analyst. And he's now their color commentator. He was the missing piece to the dynasty. I don't think they win the 80 Stanley Cup especially, and you can make the argument by extension 81, 82, and 83 without that Billy Harris for Butch Goring trade. Butch Goring absolutely should have his number retired by the Islanders. That's not the issue. The issue is that he wore 91. Butch Goring is not the best player in Islanders history to wear 91. You know who is? John Tavares. Now, did Goring have the better career? Yes. Yes, he did. But, if we're going by dominance, which is what a lot of retired numbers are about, because bear in mind, if you're just looking at Stanley Cups, there are a lot of people that need to have their number retired. Bob Bourne, Lauren Henning, Wayne Merrick, Gary Howard won 3 Stanley Cups. There are really a bunch of players that you can point to and say they should have their number retired if you're looking at Stanley Cups. So, I don't want to hear that Goring is having his number retired because of the Stanley Cup. He's having his number retired because of his whole Islander career and the fact that he wore 91. It's another slap in the face to one of the most dominant players in Islander history, John Tavares. And I am not afraid to say that. The fact that the Islanders are sanctioning the desecration of his memory is another classless move by this classless organization. I know that they had the video tribute, his first game back. I was there. I stood up and applauded. I doffed my hat to Tavares. You know what? Got news for you. There were more people that were booing him. And every time he touches the puck now, people boo him. For starters, let it go. Alright, it's done. It's over. He's a Maple Leaf. Move on. Second up, the fact that you're willing to just throw his career aside because he didn't get your way in him resigning proves how classless you are. You know what you should do? You should just thank him. Thank him for his time here. Wish him nothing but the best in Toronto. If he wins a Stanley Cup, so be it. If he wins a Stanley Cup, no one deserves it more than him. The guy suffered on a lot of terrible Islander teams. In his time here, he only won one playoff series. Only won one game in the second round. That's not Tavares' fault. It's the fault of Garth Snow. And yeah, Tavares had a bad taste in his mouth from it, so he went to a team that was more of a Stanley Cup contender in the Leafs. Now, last year it didn't work out, but this year it did. The Leafs are a million times better than the Islanders right now. Sheldon Keefe has them cooking. But the fact that there are still some Islander fans that speak ill of Tavares is sickening to me. Every time I go to an Islander game, I see a 91 jersey with Tavares' name crossed out and either Goring or traitor on the back. John Tavares is not a traitor. Garth Snow is the traitor. How long was he here? And how many playoff series did he win? Yeah. That's going to make Tavares want to leave. Of course it is. I knew he was leaving. The second that the Islanders did nothing in the draft, which was Lou Lamoriello, by the way. Lamoriello's not without blame for letting Tavares walk. At the end of the day, if Lamoriello is the hockey god that everyone makes him out to be, he'd have convinced Tavares to resign. He's the GM. That's his job. But after that draft, when the Islanders stood pat, they didn't do anything. They just used their picks. I knew he was leaving. It didn't surprise me at all that he left. Now, I was upset. I was in McCarran Airport in Las Vegas, sitting at the gate, waiting for my return flight back to New York. And I screamed no at the top of my lungs. And I saw my father walking back to the gate, and I told him the news. And I was upset too. There was no one that was more upset than me that John Tavares left. But you know what? I wasn't calling him Quisling. I wasn't calling him Pajama Boy. It's classless. And the Islanders are sanctioning that abuse by honoring 91 for Goring. Goring had the better career, but Tavares was the more dominant player. Here's what the Islanders should have done. They should have waited until Tavares retired from the NHL to retire 91. And retire it for both Goring and Tavares. I don't want to hear that couldn't have happened. They waited this long to retire 91. Why couldn't they wait 10 more years? You may be wondering why I'm not screaming as loud as I have before. It's because I'm just sick of it. I'm done talking about this. I never thought I'd have to talk about this again. I did enough screaming on my college radio show about this. That podcast is still up, by the way. It's called Beyond the Game. It's the July third show, I think, in 2018. And I spent 20 minutes screaming about Tavares. I'm done screaming about it. But you know what? I wasn't screaming at Tavares. I was screaming at Islander fans. The worst fans in sports. The ones who are willing to just cast aside his dominance because he didn't re-sign with them. Well, of course he wasn't going to re-sign. He wants to win. It's why Artemi Panarin didn't sign here. The Rangers have a brighter future than the Islanders. Yeah, the Islanders are better now, but in a few years, I don't know if that'll be the case. You can't fault the player for leaving when he was lied to for years, and he wants to win multiple Stanley Cups. Should Tavares have been a little more upfront with the Islanders, saying, I don't want to leave, and then he leaves? Yeah, alright, I guess that's a bad look. But you've got to give him a reason to stay. It's not enough to just offer him a big contract. You've got to put a good team around him. Look, I'm really done screaming about this. I'm going to be there on Friday for Tonelli. I'll be really happy for him. And I'll be there on Pirates of Penzance Day when they retire Goring's number. I'll be really happy for him as well. But that 91 should have two names on it. Goring and Tavares. Hopefully, 15 years from now, the Islanders add another banner next to Goring's. Regular episode of the Jacob Valk Show tomorrow. A week from today, you're going to get 3 shows. Brooklyn Nets in the morning, the regular Jacob Valk Show in the afternoon, and a New York Islanders trade deadline grade in the evening. Until tomorrow, I am Jacob Valk saying that I changed my mind on what my book is going to be called. It's going to be called I Like the Game, but I Love Drinking the Beer.